Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a fantastic Friday and an amazing week so far. Today, we're going to be jumping into PlanB's stock to flow, and we're going to be asking and hopefully answering the question, is Bitcoin likely to go over 100,000 US dollars by the end of December this year? We're going to be jumping into a number of things. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, the lengthening cycle theory. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin and prior data suggesting that the 2 months of November and December have typically been very bullish, and this kind of gives credence and support to PlanB's stock to flow. For those of you who don't know about the stock to flow model, this is how PlanB has essentially came up with an indicator to kind of predict Bitcoin's price based on a stock to flow model. This was typically used for gold and has now been applied to Bitcoin, and it has been somewhat accurate. In fact, it has been surprisingly accurate in my opinion. We know that in August he said $47,000, in September he said 43, October 61, and the month of November, which we are currently in, he is predicting a $98,000 Bitcoin. So we're going to get into that. That's quite a tall claim to make. The stock to flow has been relatively accurate to date. Essentially, a stock to flow is the supply and the flow being the kind of new coins issued. It's a kind of supply metric, if you will. And of course, it is largely based, these big spikes in the price movement, we are currently in one. We previously went through one in 2017 and prior to that 2013, are largely based around the halvening, which is when of course, the supply of Bitcoin gets halved. So it ties in very nicely. That's a bit of a vague explanation. If you guys want more videos on the stock to flow, I'm actually a big fan of PlanB. I know he has a lot of credibility, not just in Bitcoin, but in traditional markets, and actually moved over to crypto to essentially yield farm. He's very switched on in regards with options and markets as a whole. So he's somebody that I'm personally a fan of. So I thought this would be a nice, easy video to start the day off. We are going to get more aggressive with our content, certainly due to what currently took place yesterday, where we just saw complete market manipulation through media. We saw it through Bitcoin whales playing games. And essentially, we sold off yesterday, and we made 2 videos on it previously, or yesterday, I should say, well worth a watch, where we covered the fact. And what I really tried to highlight was cryptocurrency sold off due to nothing based on the underlying assets. They sold off due to financial global markets with Evergrande and the fact that, yes, they made the payment. It looked like perhaps they weren't going to. This is a can that's going to get kicked down the road, and we are going to cover that in more detail. But we did do that yesterday, so go give those videos a watch if you haven't. Back to what I was saying. So he's got it relatively right so far. The stock to flow, of course, he believes is predicting a 98k by the end of November. He's saying 100k December close. He dumbed it down, but it was originally 135k. Is this possible? You know, that's quite a lot. I mean, let's just take an 80 or 98k from where we are today, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of this month. That is a 54% move within essentially 18 days. That's a tough one to say, are we going to get there? That is quite a bold claim to make. Remember, the stock to flow doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, and it has been a little bit out. Like, for example, last month, we were around about 3%, a rounding error out, which was he says is close enough. But that's quite a tall order to make. However, saying that, this is, of course, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory that I have mapped out for you. It's kind of like a stock to flow, I guess, in the sense that it really maps out, you know, or indicates when the halvenings are and what happens to Bitcoin's price after it. And this is why we follow this 4-year cycle theory. But traditionally, guys, if we look at typical percentages, and of course, now that we are a bigger market cap, those percentages, ROI, are going to be significantly less. If we look at the months of November, so if we go from the start of November to the end of November, you know, you can see these are typically very, very bullish months. It's usually the end of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory that you see things really go parabolic. You can see November was a very, very bullish month in 2013. And prior to that, or after that, sorry, I should say, 2017. So are we set for the same kind of trajectory in 2022 following this theory? I think so. You guys know that I'm a big fan of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, and certainly at the start of the channel we used to talk about it a lot. But I am also, and we have made prior videos on this, a fan of the lengthening cycle theory. These are the previous cycles for Bitcoin, and you can see that they lengthen in terms of time. You can also dictate that via top to top. You know, this was 903 days. This one was obviously, I think, 1,400. Yeah, and this one we're already sort of playing at in that same manner. And obviously the first one was a lot less. And we actually topped out in the first one in June, I think. So there's a lot of contradictory, you know, when will this bull market end? We've tried to maybe give you guys some ideas of that. There will be signs of that. Parabolic movement will be one, certainly to the upside, or potentially downside, letting you know that it's over. But ultimately, you know, are we going to see that 100k Bitcoin by the end of the year? Well, the stock to flow model would say so. It's been largely right so far. Traditionally, we do end the months of November and December seeing a parabolic move to the upside, coinciding with the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory and the turn of the new year. There is a good chance that we see that again. There is a good chance that these next 2 months are going to be very, very volatile. We're already starting to see the volatility to the downside. But that can change just as quickly. And these markets, by the way, guys, move very, very fast. People often doubt how fast these markets move, but I mean, just a month ago, you know, in 22 days we saw a 63% move to the upside. In 48 days we saw a 90% move. We saw a 97% move in 29 days, guys. So there is absolutely credibility to what PlanB is saying. You know, this was 31 days and this was 133%. So are we going to see that 90k, 98k by the end of this month? I mean, like I say, that is quite a move to the upside within a very small period of time, within sort of 18 days. It's not impossible, but I'd say the more likely outcome is that we are, by the end of the year, going well over 100k, or certainly when I say well over, I mean we'll get over 100k. Because from where we are today, ladies and gentlemen, just to get to 100k is 58%, and we can do that in 45 days. So I do actually think that this is quite likely that we are going to get over 100k. You know, PlanB's model certainly points to that direction. Prior data would lead us to believe that. We also have a number of patterns here that still haven't played out. You guys will remember on Twitter, I posted this reverse head and shoulders that when we posted it way down here, said that this was kind of going to break. You also have this cup and handle. There is structure there that also supports that. And ultimately, this could be largely news driven. So for example, you could have a spot ETF approved. They are dragging their feet with this due to the effect on traditional markets that a new ETF that would perhaps offer a higher yield than the existing ones would have. So they are going to drag their feet on it, but it is an inevitability in my opinion. So that is really all I have for you. I thought this was a nice fun video. Get everybody's spirits kind of up after yesterday's price action. And we did cover yesterday's price action on 2 videos yesterday where we spoke about the Evergrande and my thoughts on that. You know, I absolutely think that Evergrande is going to go into bankruptcy without a government bailout. I don't see any way out of their debt. $330 billion spread over 250 financial institutions. If they did go bankrupt, that would cause quite a ripple effect, as everything is leveraged nowadays in regards to people are in each other's pockets, and one domino would kind of set a sequence of them off. And we also spoke about the fact that the CPI came out yesterday, the 10th, so 2 days ago, at 6.5%. People went into Bitcoin only to get shorted, essentially. People margined up in regards to option opens, and then your whales just played their games and shorted it. That's present. We spoke about that. It's the Bitcoin versus a dollar one, and prior to that, we spoke about why the whole market sold off. So that's really all I have for you in this video, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely possible to see over 100k by the end of the year. Are we going to see PlanB's 98k by the end of November? I'm somewhat skeptical, but this is crypto. You know, it always amazes me how fast this market moves when it gets going. And prior data has shown us that these moves are possible in the sense that we've already done it. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen again, but once this thing gets going, guys, it really does. And this could be largely news driven. There's a number of different events that could take place that would cause Bitcoin to do exceptionally well. It does look good on chain, etc., etc. I actually potentially do think that we are going to lengthen in terms of cycles, and we'll actually top out next year rather than this year. But that being said, you know, there's a lot of people probably that follow this Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory that potentially would expect what expect it to play out in 2021 in a similar way to what it did in 2017 and 2013. I previously did. I still do think it will do based on people expecting it. But ultimately, I think that the cycles are definitely lengthening. There is a lot of evidence for that on a number of fronts, not just overlaying these previous cycles to show you that there is a clear period of time. You know, could we top out somewhere like here? Could Bitcoin do something like this? Quite likely, in my opinion. I don't think you'll go into 2023, but I think it'll be somewhere in 2022, and then, you know, there'll be a version of the 4-year cycle take place. That is really all I have for you. The stock to flow is very interesting. Please do come and take a look at it. It was based on the gold stock to flow. It does have us at the end of the year at around about 107k here, and PlanB is saying 100k December 2021 is close. Because to make 100k average mid-cycle, we should be above that average. My floor model, not S2F, predicts 135k December close, roughly in line with the stock to flow. I think we're going to see 100k by the end of the year, guys. That's not financial advice or just my own opinion, and hopefully I'll put some good arguments forward to why potentially that might be on the table. I'm going to love and leave you on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and leave your comments in the underneath this video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.